Hello, Andrew, my man. It's so nice to have you on the show today. How are you doing?
Hi, Elijah, my friend. I'm doing wonderful. Thanks for having me. How are you doing?
Beautiful. I'm doing quite fine. And thank you so very much for being here. And you see, Andrew, oftentimes I love to thank my guest for two things. And I do this so often to the point where it has become my anthem. So, firstly, I want to say, Andrew, thank you so very much for investing in yourself. You see, you are on this platform right now because you did invest it in yourself. And oftentimes, my man, I love to make reference to the amazing mango tree. Let's say some couple of months back, I was on a particular road, and just by the roadside, Andrew, there was this very tall, unattractive mango tree. And I use the word unattractive because the mango tree's got no mangoes on it, and the leaves were all dry. So I just walked past it and I went my way. But you see, my man, just recently I was on that same road. And this time around, a lot's changed about the mango tree. You see, the mango tree caught my attention pretty good from a distance. And immediately I got the urge to move so close to it, of which I did. And it wowed me because now the mango tree's got a lot of mangoes on it, beautiful green leaves and healthy branches, and not just mangoes now, my man. I'm talking about ripe mangoes. It was such a lovely experience that day. I tell you, I was so excited. I tell you, it was a beautiful experience. I was just staring at the beauty in so much amazement. And the folks who were with me were wondering, what is wrong with Elisha? Why is he smiling at the tree? I said, you can't get it, my man. I tell you. And here is my point. The fact that you dedicated your time, energy, and resources to becoming the amazing Andrew that you are today, that alone has made it really impossible for me to skip you. And that's why you got the request from me to be on the show because I was attracted to the fruit of all that you're doing. Your journey, your insights, your philosophies, how you're offering your solutions, the impact your work is having. These stuffs are beautiful. And just before you got the request from me, Andrew, I said to myself, I've got to benefit from these beautiful things Andrew is doing. Not only me now, but even with the audience. And here we are today with the amazing Andrew. So thank you so very much for doing that yourself. And secondly, thank you for saying yes to the invite. Because if you had said nope, there was nothing Elisha could do about it. Thanks so much, my man.
Well, thank you for that story and thank you for the kind words. They mean a lot to me. I'm really blessed. Thank God I'm
Mm,
here today to spread my story,
mm,
to uh, my intention is to assist others in whatever way I can, whether it be creating reference points for them to help grow in their own lives, to never give up, to keep fighting, to keep moving forward, and to trust in the will and the love, the grace of God, because Lord knows none of us would be here without him,
yeah.
and I know for sure I would not be. And he has blessed me with challenges, but he's also blessed me with a road to get through them. And the fruits of that mango tree of my life
Mm,
have been incredible. And I'm so grateful to be here. I'm really excited to talk to you
beautiful.
and to your viewers. I hope they really enjoy this time.
Beautiful, beautiful. I tell you, you see, I just couldn't wait for this conversation. While I was reading through your bio, I said, oh man, really? I just couldn't wait. So you see, I'm quite excited to have you on the show today, Andrew, for two reasons. Firstly, my interest in knowledge seeking. You see, I believe in order for one to transition from a terrible situation to that of a beautiful one, Andrew, I believe it takes the application of knowledge, quality information, and not
Hmm.
just knowledge now, but the application of it. And you see, my man, ever since I discovered that light in the Hebrew means knowledge and darkness means ignorance, I've been so keen to knowledge seeking because I do not want to remain in the dark. So that's going to make our conversation today very important to me and even to the listeners. And the second reason I'm excited to have the amazing Andrew on the show is for the sake of the audience. You see, my man, we live in an age where Information is as abundant as grains of sand. We've got lots of information flying out there. So these folks trust me for quality, eye-opening, and very important information, of which I am totally convinced, my man, that our conversation is going to be insightful and impactful. So, for that reason, Andrew, let's get started with your
Yes.
introduction. Talk to us about your personal or your professional journey, because right now we are so curious. We want to know how Andrew got here. Then, afterwards, I've gotten some beautiful questions for you. Okay, my man, over to
Well, wonderful.
you.
Wonderful. All right. So, what has started me on this journey and brings me here today is that I had recently published a book, a memoir that I had begun writing some time ago about a time I had spent when I was seeking truth, when I was awakening in my own self. And I found myself surrounded by people who some had good intentions. The leader of this group that became known as the Love Has One cult. This is back in 2014. Her name was Amy Carlson. She had all the potential. The two of us were going to create something wonderful, helping people to awaken, to bring people together in unity and love and light. And that was our intention. But unfortunately, it devolved and she eventually chose control over truth and power over unity. And things got pretty dark. And she made a conscious decision to turn from truth and love and serving others to creating followers and serving herself, seeing herself as God. She believes she was Mother God,
Oh,
and uh, we had gotten very close. I loved her very much. I tried my best to really break her out of it. Eventually, I had to make my own escape and leave because I just did not align with what that group was doing. And years later, they'd become known as the Love Has One cult, which made mainstream news when she was unfortunately found deceased. Her followers had allowed her body to mummify and set her up like a shrine in the bedroom. And this is what HBO did a documentary on. And it was, mainstream news. Everybody was covering it. And that alone wasn't the end of my journey. Since I've survived a fatal car accident, I've had to survive addiction, and lastly, a stage 4 cancer diagnosis. And that's really what brought me to the point of wanting to write my book, to put my story out there, to tell my truth, and to show people how my faith in God, my faith in myself, is what carried me through. And I stand here before you today, and thanks to the grace of God, completely cancer free after a stage 4
wow.
diagnosis.
Amazing. Oh boy.
It has been an incredible ride. It sure has. And that's just really where the story begins. And yeah, now I'm here spreading the truth of my story, the energy of growth, of love, of unity, of Jesus and God, and what is possible for every single one of us, no matter what challenges we face.
Amazing. I tell you, you see, there are some stories that should never go untold, and this is one of them. Oh, you've gone through a lot, I tell you. And coming out of all of those things by the grace and the help of God, and here you are sharing your story. It's a beautiful one. And the impact your work is having, it's amazing. So I've got some questions that I'm curious about, all right? So how did you find the strength to recover after your accident? You mentioned you had a car accident.
Mhm. Um, that was difficult. I've always been the kind of person who, if you just put a challenge in front of me, what else can I do but my best to overcome it? I've had this propensity for just sucking it up and putting one foot in front of the other, trusting in myself, having faith that God wouldn't give me these challenges if He didn't believe that I had the strength to overcome them. And that alone has been enough for me to move through that specific challenge. Although I was very young with the car accident, it was still enough for me to move forward. I had to learn to walk again. It took some time. It was extremely painful. That's what led to the addiction. Giving an 18-year-old painkillers left and right. Probably not a great idea on a doctor's perspective, but nevertheless, that's how I got through it. And it's just trusting in myself and trusting in God.
Trusting yourself and trusting in God. You see, just recently, I think it's what about 2 weeks ago, I came across a post of a particular woman who died of cancer, and they said it's stage. Then I then was hearing from folks who said stage 4 is actually the level where you've got no hope anymore, and it's all. Then I became very troubled. I was really in need of someone who had similar experience and came out of it. You know, I became very curious. I wanted to hear a story of someone who went through the cancer stuff at that stage and did overcome it. All of these things was going through my mind during the week. Now getting to listen to your story, I tell you, it's amazing. So can you talk to us more about it? How was those periods like, and how did it all happen? And I just want some more information.
Sure, sure. Well, as far as the diagnosis goes, that was difficult. I actually didn't tell you the truth. I didn't really think about it until maybe a year after the diagnosis. When I was first diagnosed, it was very emotional. Definitely a lot of crying. The hardest part for me was telling other family members the diagnosis. It was one thing to be told it, but to have to tell my father, to tell my sisters, to tell my brother, my aunts, my cousins, that was the hardest part for me because I knew it was going to break their hearts. And that's just, that was very difficult. But at first, like I said, the same with the car accident, it was kind of like just, okay, tell me where to go, what time I need to be there. I'll show up and I'll do what I've got to do. And that's it. And I went through the chemo. I went through a couple surgeries and I didn't think much of it. And it wasn't until I got a call in the summer, a few months after I finished the first 4 rounds of chemotherapy, and I was told that the cancer had started growing again. And that's when it really hit me. And that's when I began to really look at the fact that, I'm 40 years old, but I might not make it. And I had to come to terms with the fact that, there might not be enough medical procedures or medicine that can overcome this diagnosis. And that is when I really needed God on my side. That's when things became quite difficult. All I could think about was dying, to tell you the truth, all day, every day. I just wanted to sleep so that I didn't have to wake up and think about it. And unfortunately, that doesn't work. So I just, I put my faith in God. I put my faith in Jesus. I told my family, do all the research you want. I don't want to know numbers. I don't want to know what my
Mm,
statistics or my odds are. I don't want to hear anything like that. I'm going to beat this. There's no question about it. I'm going to do whatever I need to do, and I'm going to come out the other side. And I had that faith and that belief, and that's what I used. That's what I leaned on. Jesus, God was my crutch, my strength, my perseverance, and my determination. And I moved through it as best I could. Very, very difficult. A very sad place to be in those hospitals when you see people, the doctors make you do laps around the corridor every day to keep your strength and, to be surrounded by, I'd say probably 9 out of 10 people, on that floor just buying time. None of them are going to make it. And it was just an incredibly difficult place to find yourself. You know, people who are diagnosed with cancer have a tendency to find God quickly and strengthen their relationship quickly. For me, that happened as well. Although I already had that relationship, it really did get much stronger. And, again, through his good graces, I have been able to go through some even more intense chemotherapy. And thank God I sit here cancer free for 18 months now and counting.
Amazing. And to God be all the glory. And you see, I have a feeling God is going to use your story to heal folks. I mean, anyone who
Hmm.
might be stuck in that same situation, I have a feeling that by just listening to you speak, God is going to heal them because, oh boy, this is really powerful. And thank you for not keeping all of these stuffs to yourself. The fact that you're sharing with the world now, we know something like that is very much possible. Thank you, my man. So let's get back to,
You're welcome.
yeah, let's get back to the court aspect. When you discovered
Sure.
Amy was, misbehaving and all, and you spoke out. So, um, how did the court use love and spirituality as control?
Yeah. Yeah. So, that's a really great question. Um, by positioning herself as quote mother god, she positioned herself as the supreme authority on everything, and she created a system in the house that was almost, in a way, the control mechanisms were just baked into the belief systems. Whereas, you're surrounded by people who believe, you're in a house of, at the time, 7, 8, 9 people other than myself, um speaking out against the beliefs is going to put a target on your back. When you're surrounded by a house of people, you don't want to upset everybody because you want to get along. Well, the only way to get along is to follow the belief system. So, most people who found themselves at odds with these beliefs would just leave. But in my case, I had grown to love Amy very much, and I had to stay. And what she would do to control you was, to claim that any disbelief was your ego, was a part of you that was afraid because of your social conditioning or your social programming, that it was just a part of you that was afraid to accept God, her, into your heart. And that's how she would frame this. So anytime that you spoke out against or asked questions or even looked for, explanations, she would tell you, this is your ego. This isn't truth. And, she would essentially, just slice you in half. Sometimes she had this cackle where if you asked enough questions she didn't want to answer, she would just start laughing at you uncontrollably. And the laugh was, it was like, it was very painful to be laughed at in this way. And she would look at the other team members and laugh and, coax them along. And, everybody felt trapped between, the truth and, pleasing Amy or Mother God. And, they were trapped between their good senses and, staying in her good graces. And most people just played along. And unfortunately for them, I wasn't most people. And it put me in a very difficult position every day where I really did fight against her every day and these control mechanisms, which she had many.
Wow, that's so demonic, I tell you. That's so demonic. Okay, so we have two questions to go. All right, let's talk about your memo. What inspired you to write your memo, and what is one story from your book that still empowers you till today?
Hmm. Also, a great question. Um, to make a long story short, we had a team member who, I call this the quantum hoax. It's in chapters It takes place in chapters 6, 7, 8, and 9 in my book. It is the climax of my time there. We had a team member who used his computer savvy to create what appeared to us to be these fake beings from another realm who would come into the chat room and speak to us about spirituality. And he also used his computer abilities to create fake team members that would come into the chat room. Like one lady came in and said, "Oh, I've lost my mother's will, the house, we're losing everything, my kids, my husband lost the job, we're going to lose everything, can't find my mother's will." And then these quote beings were able to tell her where the will was hidden, upstairs in her deceased mother's house. And it was a way for him to create credibility among the team. This went on for months, and he took control of the team, pretending to be these fake beings, and was directing the team. And this is all in the book. I even have the transcripts of these private chats when they were trying to coerce me into following along with the belief systems, to giving up my own individuality. And nevertheless, I was able, after months, to uncover this. I set some traps for him. I watched him. I was saving transcripts, and I was able to eventually uncover this incredible hoax that he had been portraying against the team for months. And when I did uncover this, it was not popular, to tell the truth, because it showed Amy was not really God, that her guides and everything was all fake. And I was given an ultimatum to keep my mouth shut or leave the team. I wasn't allowed to tell the truth. And there was no way I was going to allow that to happen. And in front of the whole team, I told them, "You do what you have to do, but the truth is not owned by you. It is something that we all have a right to." And in that moment, in all my strength and in all my power, I put it out there. I typed it all out. I pressed send in the chat room. I told all of our followers the truth, and there was no going back. And that moment was a moment of power, of strength, of clarity for me, and probably the best moment, strongest moment that I had there.
Wow, that's amazing, and I love that. I love that. That shows how good you are at what you're doing, and the kind of person that you are. You know, that's a great one.
Thank you.
So to bring this to an end, my
Thank
man, yeah, what would you like to leave the audience with, like a final thought? And to those folks who like to make a purchase of your memoir, reach out to you, or even ask you questions, how can that be possible?
Yeah, sure. So the memoir is called The War on Love, and you can find it on my website, thewaronlove.com. Very straightforward. And what I would like people to take from this story is that it's not just a story about cults. It is a story about every force that all of us have ever come across, whether it be in a job, a relationship, anything, a force that tries to separate us from our divinity, our sovereignty, the truth of who we are, our true power. And we have it within us. God has given us everything we'd ever need to overcome these challenges. And authenticity is so incredibly important. And if I could leave the audience with anything, it would be to trust in your own authenticity, trust in your truth, trust in the love and the power that you are, and the love and the power of Jesus Christ, of God. And there is nothing that you won't overcome.
Powerful word. Very, very profound. And I got that. So that's going to be the end of the show, my man. Thank you for coming and thank you for sharing this beautiful stuff with us. It means a whole lot.
It has been an extreme pleasure. Thank you so much. Thank you to your listeners. It's a pleasure. Thank you.